Hi, my name is Misty Kruger, and I am so happy to be talking to you today at Virtual JaneCon 2024. I am going to talk about why we should care about Hallmark's Jane Austen Loveuary movies. So Hallmark has this thing called Loveuary, and actually it's put on every year, but in 2024, the focus was on Jane Austen films. So I will be talking about those movies today. And if you want to learn more about them on your own time, you can go to the website www.hallmarkchannel.com/Loveuary. And I will say that the images you're going to see and the clips I'm going to show in today's video come from the 2024 Hallmark Loveuary website. I also want to give a shout out to SlidesGo for the awesome template I'm using for this presentation. So Loveuary, Jane Austen style. You might not be a Hallmark movie channel fan. I am not someone who watches the movies on Hallmark Channel, but I was excited to see that Jane Austen was getting some recognition on Hallmark. So I want to make sure that before I proceed, I just give you a very brief rundown of what the Jane Austen Loveuary is for Hallmark Channel. So first up, these are 4 new films that were made for the Hallmark Channel streaming or for watching it on cable. And it was specifically made for fans of romance, which is basically Hallmark's Hallmark, and fans of Jane Austen. And for those of you who might be watching this video who are not from the US, right, Hallmark is really catering to an American audience, probably more comprised of female than male viewers, maybe between the ages of roughly 20 and 50. It's just a guess, but I think that's the target audience. So these new films made for Hallmark, and they're for Hallmark fans as well as Jane Austen fans, fans of romance. And the films were streamed in February of 2024, and we had 1 movie each week. And then, again, I wouldn't know this, but apparently these films have a lot of the Hallmark Channel's stars. So it's kind of got this intertextual thing going on with all the other movies that you might see on the Hallmark Channel. So the movies that were streaming this year, I will share them with you in the order in which they were released. The first one is called Paging Mr. Darcy, and someone else at JaneCon is going to talk about that, so I will leave that to them. It aired on February 3rd, and then the next weekend was Love and Jane, followed by An American in Austen, and then finally wrapping up with Sense and Sensibility. Also at JaneCon, I know that the Sense and Sensibility film will be discussed by other presenters, so I'm also going to leave that work to them. So for today, I'm going to discuss the Love and Jane movie, as well as An American in Austen. So the title of my talk, why should we care, about these movies? I'm saying we should care. You probably want to know why we should care, but I'm going to save that for the end. So I'll tell you at the end of my talk. Instead, I'm going to work through the 2 films and then work my way to, answering that question, why should we care? So first up is Love and Jane. And I'm going to show you the preview so that you can get a basic sense of what the film is about.
If I had to say one thing that I love the most about Jane, it's the romance.
Every great love story
Jane, if only I could talk to you.
needs a plot twist.
Who are you? I think you know. Jane Austen?
You've seen her twice.
She's giving me advice on men.
Who better than Jane Austen?
It is important for a gentleman to own cattle.
He's in the technology industry, so I don't think he has any cattle.
Pity.
Love and Jane on Hallmark.
So that's the preview created by Hallmark for the film.
If I had to say one,
Let's just start over when I go to the next slide. So as you can see, here are the stars of the movie, and some of you might recognize this person. Apparently, people recognized him. I just don't know who it is. Just from the picture alone, from the preview, you probably think, oh, this looks promising, right? Like this film looks promising. It surely, is slated to be something good. It has Alison Sweeney, who those of us who were, growing up on Days of Our Lives know her. And then it has that guy. That guy. Allison Sweeney plays someone named Lily Thorpe in the movie. And of course, the Thorpe name refers to Northanger Abbey. And then there's that guy whose name is Trevor Fitzsimmons, which to me is very close to Fitzwilliam, as in Darcy. So you put them together and you're going to get love, right? Because that is the perfect recipe for a Hallmark movie and maybe for fans of Pride and Prejudice. But the thing that excited me was actually not the love plot, but the Jane Austen sighting. So as you saw from the preview, Jane Austen is in this movie. Here is the actress who plays Jane. It's a Canadian actress named Kendra Anderson. And, you know, just by looking at the picture and maybe what you heard in the preview, you're thinking, oh, this sounds like something I want to watch, right? It's about our favorite author. So in the film, the author visits Lily Thorpe and gives her a lot of advice. So advice on love, advice on writing, and then just like practical advice on being yourself. There's some good stuff about this movie, so I'll talk about that, and then I'll talk about the not so good stuff. So number one, the title. Love the title because it's a nice riff on Austen's, love herself, right, of the blank and blank. So Pride and Prejudice, but also from the Juvenilia, Love and Friendship, hence Love and Jane. So I was like, yeah, I'm with you. I like that. And number two would be that there is an Austen book club featured in this movie. And of course, I like seeing that as well, right? I like that reminder that there are people who are readers of Austen. They get together and they talk about her books. I'm a part of an Austen book club myself. Number three, I liked that there was a Regency Jane on screen, right? How exciting is this to get to see someone play Jane Austen on screen? We don't get that as often as perhaps we would like. So that sounded pretty cool. And I like that the film was focused on friendship. So in a way, it is a kind of love and friendship thing. It's the friendship between Lily and her coworkers, Lily and the people in the Austen book club, and then Lily and Jane Austen, right? Like that is a part of the film, right? That's the basis of the film in many ways. And then finally, of course, the good stuff is that, what do you think? We're going to get a happy ending, right? There's a tense love plot, throughout the film. And then at the end, everything falls into place and we get our love. So woohoo, right? Sounds good. There's some not so good stuff. And these are the things that really bugged me from the very start. I did not appreciate the writing, the plot and the dialogue in this film just didn't work for me. I didn't find it cheesy in a good way. I just found it awkward and it felt very labored. I really do appreciate that Allison Sweeney produced this film as well as starred in it, but for some reason it just wasn't coming together in her acting. And I really love Allison Sweeney as an actress, but it just didn't feel right in this movie. It was off for me. And then the third thing I will say is that I really actually didn't enjoy the depiction of Jane Austen. So she looked the part, but I found the character of Jane Austen to be perhaps a little too harsh at times. Some of the things that she said just didn't sound right to me. I was like, that doesn't seem like something Jane Austen would say. So it just really, I didn't connect with Jane Austen, the character, which is a bummer because it would be my dream come true to have the same thing happen to me, but didn't get to meet Austen. And I don't think I'd want to meet the one in this movie. I did enjoy An American Austen. I thought this was a really fun movie and I would encourage you to watch it. So I will play the preview so that you can get a sense of what's in that movie.
It's a shooting star.
Quick, make a wish.
I wish for Mr. Darcy.
What is happening? She's arrived!
Fall captive to a great story.
I'm stuck in Pride and Prejudice.
Okay, I'm officially freaking out.
And who is that?
Mr. Darcy.
Oh, boy.
An American in Austen.
So that was the Hallmark preview. Again,
Hallmark.
a really
It's a shooting
fun
star.
preview.
Quick.
I don't mind it at all. And as you can see, a clip from the film with her riding in the carriage, she basically wakes up and is like, what has happened to me? So I enjoyed that this film looked promising from the preview. And as with any Austen romance, right, we have to have a, heterosexual pairing. So we've got Eliza Bennett, who's the name of the actress, who plays a character named Harriet. Reminds me of Harriet from another book. And then there are two guys. There's the 2024 boyfriend of Harriet, as well as the 1813 Mr. Darcy. And so does this equal love? Right now it's a question mark. So will our heroine end up with guy number one or guy number two? Or who knows, maybe none of them. Oh, she's going to end up with one of them. And there's going to be a love match. This is a romance movie. Okay, so the thing I appreciated about this film, first of all, was that there are two Eliza Bennetts. Like that, I did not see that coming. So here is one, and there's the other. So obviously this is the actress, Eliza Bennett, at the bottom. And this is the character, Eliza, AKA Elizabeth Bennet, at the top. I thought it was pretty funny that we have this British actress named Eliza Bennett with two T's, not the one T. She's playing someone named Harriet, and the British actress is playing an American who is transported to the 1813 Pride and Prejudice world. So two Elizas, one who's transported back in time, and it's very much, like the plot thickens. Okay, so you might have heard of something called Lost in Austen, and if you haven't, it's a series from 2008 that is just a joy to watch. It's actually one of my favorite adaptations of anything Austen. So Lost in Austen, it has a ton of great stars: Alex Kingston, Hugh Bonneville, Elliot Cowan plays Mr. Darcy. Just so many wonderful stars in that movie. And of course, first and foremost, it's Jemima Rooper as Amanda. So I realized very quickly as I was watching that it just felt like deja vu. And it's because there was something going on. So the similarities would be that both of these films, An American in Austen, or I should say the film and the series, Lost in Austen, they're both romantic comedies. And both Harriet and Amanda go back to 1813 Pride and Prejudice world. Harriet's from 2024, Amanda is from roughly 2008. And in both works, Mr. Darcy falls for those time travelers instead of Elizabeth, which, definitely throws the time traveling thing out of whack, but also, jeopardizes the purity, right, of the Jane Austen novel. And in the end, both Harriet and Amanda, have to decide, like, where do they belong? When do they belong, right? What time period, with whom do they belong? So those are the things that Lost in Austen as well as An American in Austen have in common. There are some key differences though. So in Lost in Austen, Amanda is super sassy, which I love. And Elizabeth Bennet goes forward in time. Okay, so that's like, oh, that's new. Elizabeth Bennet goes to 2008 in London, right? That's another thing. And she stays there. She, by the end of the film or the series, she decides, I'm not going back to my original time period, my original home. Amanda actually stays in 1813. So her going back in time was a good thing for her because she actually gets to be with Mr. Darcy, who she has fallen in love with throughout the series. So that's fun, but not the same thing we get in An American in Austen. So the sassy is the sweet, right? Harriet is super sweet. She's not sassy. Elizabeth Bennet stays in 1813 and she ends up with Mr. Darcy as in Jane Austen's novel. And then Harriet returns to 2024 and stays with her boyfriend. So everybody's put back where they belong by the time we get to the end of An American in Austen. The good stuff. Well, there's lots of good stuff, but I narrowed it down. The plot is so much fun. The writing was great. It was believable from start to finish for me. Number two, the acting. Wonderful, excellent. I thought everyone, including all the Bennet sisters, right, were doing such a great job in this movie. Number three, of course, I enjoy a Regency setting, right? Who doesn't? So it was really cool to have the film mostly set in that time period, in that Austen world. Number four, I thought the movie was super funny. I just enjoyed it. So the humor I did not find in Love and Jane, I did find in An American in Austen. And then finally, this happy ending was one that I give a thumbs up to. So Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy have their happy ending, as well as Harriet and her boyfriend. So we'll talk a bit more about that in a little minute or so. Okay. The not so good stuff. I honestly struggled to find something that I could put on this list, but I managed to come up with something. This guy, that's Mr. Darcy. He was so meh for me in this movie. Like, I could see why Harriet really got sick of it and wanted to go back or forward, right, in time. So back to her home, back to her life, forward in time. Elizabeth Bennet too, meh. I really was like, they kind of deserve each other. So in the end, I thought this was kind of good for Harriet. It was good for her to see those two characters get together, but it was also good for her to know that she doesn't belong with Mr. Darcy. She might have dreamed about him, and that shooting star brought her there, but in the end, it wasn't what she wanted for her life. So when we think about all of the movies, I'm going to answer the question of, why should we care? I'm particularly going to focus on the two, though, that I talked about today. So the one big thing for us to think about is that typically film adaptations of Austen tend to reinforce a very dominant image of Austen fandom. So this one thing would be Mr. Darcy worship, right? We find that in 3 of the 4 films, because one Sense and Sensibility, so it can't be Darcy worship. But we find that in a lot of movies. And it's that romantic notion, right, that there's this ideal partner out there and this new love that's going to change your life and make everything better and make you find who you are, right? That's the Darcy, plan. And then there's Austen worship. So it's not just her characters that we love. We love Jane Austen. I am definitely an Austen lover. And so fans have this notion of being a published author like Austen, just wanting to be her, but definitely wanting to meet her, right? This is definitely something I could do. If I could travel back in time, I would definitely tell the doctor, take me to Jane Austen. So this is something that we see in the fandom. It's something that we see in adaptations, and it's something that we saw in the Hallmark movies. The other thing, though, and this might be more important, is that these films show us these modern revelations that people are currently having about Austen's world and the adaptation world. So the one thing we saw was that there are pitfalls for romanticizing Austen and for romanticizing her world. There is also the reality of just knowing that you'd rather be yourself, and you should be yourself, and you should love people for who they are. You shouldn't compare yourself, say, to Elizabeth Bennet, or compare yourself to Mr. Darcy, or want to be Mr. Darcy, or any of those things, because those are characters, right? It's a book, it's a novel, it's a fiction. And in reality, things are so much more complex. The final one really has to do with Sense and Sensibility in the case of the Hallmark movies. It's just a reminder that Austen is for everyone. It does not matter what your race or ethnicity is, what language you speak, right? Austen is for everyone. And it's nice to see Hallmark kind of, becoming a part of the color conscious casting, like things that we've seen, for example, in Bridgerton. It's nice to see BIPOC fans having representation on screen and allowing those fans to see themselves in Austen's world. So I've got some closing remarks that I want to make about each of these movies, but again, mostly that I've talked about today. So first off, I just want to say that Love and Jane and An American in Austen are really showing us those images of fandom that have dominated perceptions of, say, Austen readers, since the I Love Mr. Darcy days, which I think really begins in 1995. Both Lily and Harriet have this romantic idea at the start of the movie, and maybe for one at the end, that there's something that is true love, and it's always found in that ideal partner that is something like Mr. Darcy. Love and Jane really adds to this image by suggesting that diehard Austen fans might also want to be Jane Austen, right? As Lily herself is an aspiring author who wants to get published. But this film also carries with it those stereotypical notions of what Austen, the person, was like. Really caters to those long-standing wishes for fans to really know Austen, despite the scant evidence that we have of her personal life. An American in Austen shows us that sometimes those dreams, right, those dreams of living in Austen's time, of being Austen herself, being in the world of Pride and Prejudice, really isn't all that it's thought to be. In the film, Harriet wakes up every day, kind of like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, and just has this like, oh my God, I'm still here feeling. She really tires of the Pride and Prejudice world, and it happens pretty quickly. She just wants to go home to 2024, to America. And eventually she does get her wish. And she's glad that she's not stuck with Mr. Darcy, who isn't her true love, right? Her original boyfriend is her true love. And now she knows that trying to compare a real life boyfriend to a fictional character is really a bad idea. And the film Paging Mr. Darcy does something kind of similar, right? That the protagonists are caught in this trap of trying to be Mr. Darcy, trying to compare Mr. Darcy to real life people. And the same goes for, you know, the female characters in Austen's works too. So I will say that it's really hard to compare Sense and Sensibility and with the other three, because it's not trying to do the same thing. So the first three films, you know, are saying, here are these reimaginings, right? These interpretation variations of Austen. But Sense and Sensibility is offering us something that is more of a straight book to film adaptation. It doesn't try to keep, you know, with updating, except in its casting. So it does try to use Austen's language, use the text from the book. But again, that color conscious adding, modernizing kind of Austen's movie is one of the things that makes the film interesting. So again, it's a great movie. I wish I could talk about it more, but definitely tune into the other presenters at JaneCon to hear what they have to say. So really these reasons and more, right, just account for why I think we really should care about the Hallmark movies. You want to know more about what I think? Well, if you do, go check out my medium.com essay. Published it on March 5th of 2024, right after I watched all the movies. And so all of the films I discuss at length in that essay. And the title of that essay is Why You Should Care About Hallmark's Loveuary Jane Austen Movies. So you can go to medium.com and search for me and you'll find it there, or just Google my name and the title of the essay, and you probably can find it that way too. I want to thank you for watching this video. I want you to know that I would love to chat with you more about the films, more about the stuff that you want to say in response to what you heard me say today. So feel free to contact me. You can email me at misty.kruger@maine.edu, or you can find me on Twitter, send me a message. My handle is @MistyKruger. I really hope that you enjoy the rest of virtual JaneCon 2024. I'm really excited to see what everyone else has to say. All right, take care and keep watching Austen adaptations.